Good morning again, Dave Roemer. I'm a franchise guy. I do all things franchising. The thing that I'm going to talk about in the presentation today is helping companies not only get to the point where they can franchise their concept, but then how do they grow their concept? It's kind of you'll see more about it. The other thing I do is I work with people who want to find a franchise business. I help them find the right one for them. So, one of the exciting things we got going is we have a fairly new. It's not a new company, but it's a new client for us. It's a coffee company. They're out of Utah, and they do high altitude brewing, which so they do all the brewing in Utah, so it's high altitude. Excuse me. And I guess it takes the bitterness out of the coffee, that aftertaste, that strong bitter aftertaste that you get it. Um, you know, that other brand that is really big, but it's still got that full flavor. And so they're growing, excuse me, franchising all over the place, and we're looking for folks that want to open a bunch of those. But then on a personal level, the exciting thing is, which really kind of completes the circle, helping folks franchise their company, helping people find good franchises. But then what do they do next, right? Once you're a franchisee and a franchisor, what do you do next? And that's what the book is about. It's also, the interesting thing is this book it's so you bought a franchise, now what? But it's not just for franchisees, it's for any small business owner. And I'm really focused in on small business owners, right? Those people that maybe have never been in business before, those kinds of folks, because they're just lost and they don't really have anybody out there to help them. So, it's a collection of tools, best practices, stories, success stories, not just from me, but from a number of people that I interviewed. David Shavzin and Mark Fonseca are in here as well. I interviewed them for the book. But successful business owners, operators, that kind of thing have told their stories in various chapters on various subjects. And it's how do they not just set, but achieve goals, and what's the whole process for doing that? And that's illustrated in here. How do they build a great team? How do they have happier customers? What's about customer loyalty? Mark was great on that aspect of it. So anyway, that's what the book is about. It's available on Amazon. It'll be available on Kindle version starting Monday, but it's been available on Amazon in print version for the last couple of weeks. And I think it'll be available on Barnes & Noble as well starting on Monday. What I wanted to talk about today was just, we talked a little bit about it earlier. The number of franchise companies that are coming on board over the last few years is really, it's amazing how many there are. And some of the concepts that are coming on board are pretty cool too. Some things, as Jim said earlier, that you would never think would be a franchise are really becoming franchises. And so it's pretty interesting. So one of the things that I talk to folks about is, what are the advantages of franchising your company? But then before I even get into that, I have the conversation about there's really 4 questions that you need to answer yes to be able to determine if your concept is franchisable. So the first question is, number 1, can you teach people what you do? And it's not just about teaching people the technical aspect of your business. It's really becoming, can you teach people the process that you use to run your business? So if you're a plumber, it's not just about, can you teach people to be a plumber? Because you got to have a master plumber on board, and then you can certainly have underneath them people that just do the technical work. But can you teach people how you run your plumbing business, and what's the process for doing it, and do I have the technology behind me, and all those kinds of things? And so that's what's really bringing on a lot of these new concepts, like Mark was talking about earlier with Eagle One. Excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm having trouble today. You wouldn't think a few years ago that a company like Eagle One that does a call center and marketing type stuff that they would be a franchise. You wouldn't think that some of the medical concepts that are coming on board, like a chiropractor, for example, that has multiple offices and is hiring chiropractors to work in those offices, but he's created this system that he can then franchise. and franchise it to chiropractors or to to just business people who then go ahead and bring on chiropractors, because I don't know if you knew this or not, but I've learned this: chiropractors don't make a ton of money. Average chiropractor, maybe makes about 60,000 a year. And so there's a concept out there that has actually expanded that business and brought in physical therapy and acupuncture and massage therapy and some other types of non-invasive therapies under one roof. And they'll pay the chiropractor maybe 80 or 100,000 a year. They don't have to run the business. All they get to do now is treat patients, and they're making more money, and it's kind of a good gig for them. But it's a franchise, so it's pretty ingenious what people are doing. So the question is, can you teach people what you do? That's number one. Number two, is it profitable? And is it profitable? In other words, can a franchisee make money? Is it attractive to a potential franchisee where they can make money doing it? Not just can you make money, because franchisees obviously have, they've got to pay royalties and get a return on investment for their initial franchise fee and those types of things. So it's a little bit different model with them. The third question that they have to answer yes to is it scalable? Is it something that you can develop across the country or in other markets beyond, outside your home market? Is it something that the public would accept? And generally speaking, every franchise out there that you see, is the answer to that is yes. And then the fourth question is really more of an internal question, and that's, do you have the budget to franchise, or can you create the budget? So are you profitable enough where you can create a budget to franchise? Because it's not just about the cost of starting your franchise, getting you to the point where you legally can start franchising. It's the investment of finding franchisees and the marketing and the hiring of people to support those franchisees. And you've got to create. Mark was saying that Eagle One is still in the investment stage. It's not showing a profit yet on the franchise side, although the original company is very profitable, I'm sure, because you're starting a new company and you're starting a new business. And so there's those considerations. So if you're talking to someone who has said, I've got people asking me if I'm franchising this concept, or hey, have you ever thought about franchising, or hey, can I buy a franchise from you? Those are some questions that you want to ask them. Are those things? And then if they're thinking about franchising, you've got, I'm sure there's more, but here's 12 advantages of franchising. And I'm not going to go through them all, but the thing that I love about franchising is really probably number one most of all, and that's you get to grow your brand without using your own capital. I mean, other people's money is a great way to grow stuff. Yeah, you've got to support them, and you've got to make sure that they're successful and they're making money, and that's a big piece of it, because if you're going to sell more franchises or grant more franchises, you've got to validate with your existing franchises really well. In fact, I just had a client that was looking at a brand, and he was a little bit more savvy than the typical client, which is good, because he made some phone calls to existing franchisees and wasn't real happy with the responses to some of his questions. So he backed out. You've got to validate with your existing franchisees if you're going to grow your brand. A couple other things here. It's obviously you have limited liability. You're not running the business. You don't have to carry the insurance for each of the individual locations. That's up to the franchisee. You don't have to deal with operations. So especially in today's market where there's labor issues and those types of things, you can expand your brand without having to worry about hiring and retaining people, which is pretty attractive for franchisors. Again, you've got to help your franchisees solve those problems, but you don't have to deal with when somebody calls off, and you got to go in and work. So there's advantages to doing that. So what we do here is through this program called Alloy, and it's called Alloy because it's an amalgam of several different companies that I have access to, and it provides every service that a new franchisor would need to franchise their concept and grow it and be successful. And I'm going to go through each of those in brief here. I won't take forever, but we've got the franchise consulting company, we've got Franchise Journal, the trade show, Franchise Genesis, Fran Devco, which is a development company, and then Dude and Partners, which is kind of a mastermind. And I'll talk briefly about each one of those. So it's a full service company. And here's the thing that you got to worry about. And Mark knows this as well. There's a lot of folks out there that will say, I can franchise your concept. Some of them, and unfortunately, this is the case pretty much with every kind of industry, I think, some of them will get you franchised. They'll get you an FDD and they'll charge you tens of thousands of dollars. And that's it. That's all they're going to do. And that's really, I mean, there is so much beyond that. That's like step one. It's like step half, right? Is getting it's not even step one, getting the FDD. But that's pretty much what they do. And I'm working with a couple of folks right now. One of them paid $35,000, the other paid $40,000, and all they got was an FDD. I mean, that's just wrong, in my opinion. You should be getting a whole lot more if you're paying that much money. So what we're doing here is we're building the franchise, we're growing it, we're educating the franchisor, because as a new franchisor, right, you're used to running your business, whatever your business is. Most folks that become franchisors really don't know how to be a franchisor. It's really a separate business that they have to learn, and so we make sure that they get a lot of education and a lot of questions answered and all those kinds of things. How to find great franchisees and what does that great franchisee look like, marketing franchise, and then creating national awareness. It's all part of it. So step one is Franchise Genesis. Pretty aptly named, because what Franchise Genesis does is it gets you franchised and it gets you set up for success, not just the legal aspect of it. So if you look here in this area here, in the middle of the page, so you get your franchise disclosure document, which is obviously required, right? You can't be a franchise without that. You get registered with the Federal Trade Commission. You get one-on-one consulting, strategic analysis of your business in terms of what are the advantages to your business? What are kind of hooks? How are you going to market to franchisees, potential franchisees? What does a successful franchisee look like for your brand? Kind of a profile of what that franchisee looks like in terms of experience and skill level and investment level and those types of things. You get an operations manual. It's probably not a manual that will never need updating. I'm going to tell you that up front. I mean, operations manuals are the kinds of things that need to be updated on a fairly regular basis, but you're going to get an operations manual you can present to people, which is, here's our system. Here's how we built our success. Custom landing pages, marketing materials, as you see there. You're going to get ads and profiles in our online magazine that publishes monthly, Franchise Journal, and you're going to get participation in the Great American Franchise Expo, which runs 12 trade shows every year, usually one a month. A couple of times we double up because like in the summertime we won't do one. But there's 12 a year, and you'll get that. And I have the ability through what I can do as a partner here, I can kind of massage that a little bit and maybe get you a couple extra trade shows, more than what the standard program provides for folks. I think it's 4 to start off with, and I can generally get you a few more than that. And what's really cool about that is since we own the trade show company, we also have the ability to take your booth, put it on the truck, and if you're not able to go to a trade show to man your own booth, we've got consultants out there that will happily man your booth for you because they're getting all the leads that come. And so, it's pretty cool how the whole thing works. And then, through Genesis, we've actually got a couple of different ways to help you grow and market your business. Genesis has a kind of a development arm that they have created, which is a low-cost way to continue to market your franchise and help you find and sign new franchisees, in addition to FranDevCo, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. So it's a full service kind of thing. I'll talk about Dudan Partners in a second here. Let me just click. Okay, so FranDevCo is a full service development company. So if you've got and you're going to need, this is for people that have a little bit more cash, because they're a little bit more, um, they provide a lot more service, and so because of that, they cost a little bit more than the Franchise Genesis program. But Fran Devco will be your franchise development department. They will do everything that needs to be done all the way up to signing the franchise agreement. They will have the conversations with prospective franchisees. They will disclose them. They will take them through discovery day. They will make sure that they're validating. They'll do the entire process, and all the way up to signing, and collecting the initial franchise fee, and then turn them over to you. Franchise Genesis will do part of that. They will get them disclosed, and they will get them qualified financially and skill qualified, and then turn them over to you, the franchisor, to close the deal. So two different levels of service and two different pricing structures, but there's two choices that people have for Friend Dev. And again, this is part of what we do. We're not just going to leave people hanging out there with an FTD and say, good luck, I hope you can grow your franchise. We're going to help you do it. And it's, again, growth strategy, etc. So we're going to educate you as a franchisor. I'm going to work with you as a franchisor, and I'm going to stay with you, and kind of like what Mark is doing with Eagle One on their advisory board, I'm going to do the same kind of thing. I'm just going to stay with them, and I'm going to help them. And I'm working with a small pest company right now, and have been advising him on several different matters. Dude and Partners is a mastermind group. What they do is they get especially new franchisors, and they put them in a room, and it's a mastermind, and you're sharing best practices, and you're getting an education on how to be a franchisor. Pretty valuable stuff. And without that, people are going to flounder. Obviously, they're going to make a lot of mistakes, and they're going to get advice here on, when do I bring on a Fran Dev person? When do I bring on an ops person? How do I manage these franchisees? And what do I do when this guy's calling me up telling me that, he's having all these issues, and I'm telling him, well, fix them. How do I handle that? That's what Dude and Partners is for. Finding Great Franchisees is the franchise consulting company. It's a network of about 150 independent consultants that are out there constantly talking to folks and fitting them with the right brand. And so, if you're creating a relationship with these consultants, then they're going to show your brand. If you're not, then they're probably not. And they're like anybody else, if they know you, if they have a relationship with you, if they're getting compensated fairly, then they're going to show your brand, because they want to place people in brands. If they don't get paid. And so there's a lot of folks out there that are doing it. One of the things that we offer as well is access to the 2 conventions that we do every year. I'm headed to Vegas next week with all the other consultants, and a bunch of our franchisors for 4 or 5 days, to talk about franchising and what we're doing moving forward. We do that twice a year. We usually do it in January and then again in June. And it's an opportunity for franchisors to, sit down and have a drink with the consultants and have a bourbon and a cigar, and just talk about stuff, which is obviously, right, that's how you develop relationships. So we have a pretty defined process. I'm not going to go through the whole thing on how we do that, but we're bringing new brands on all the time. We do have some brands that drop off. Most of the brands that drop off are ones that just aren't really attractive brands to begin with, and so they're not getting shown by the consultants. I've had a couple that I've shown in the past that I'm not showing anymore for various reasons, and it's just part of the process. But there's always new stuff coming on. We launch new brands probably every week. We're either launching or relaunching multiple times a week, different brands. And they're in all kinds of industries, mostly service industries these days. It seems that the low cost, low overhead, low cost of entry types of brands are really, really popular. Things that you can get into for $100,000 or less total, including working capital. So, there's some of that stuff out there, and those things are, now a lot of them are, you're going to have to work it for a while. And if you're going to go into the pest control business, I mean, you can get into the pest control business for 70 grand all in. But you're going to be working the pest control business. You're going to be climbing on people's roofs and getting in people's attics and doing that kind of thing, at least for the first year or two. But, can you do, can you earn a six-figure salary by doing that? Yeah, you can. But you're going to be working it. If you want to grow beyond that, you're going to need to start hiring technicians and start managing the business like a real business owner. But, it's a way that people can get in that have never owned a business before and can kind of step up their way to being a business owner. There's lots of those opportunities out there. So, we've got all these assets under one roof, all these sister companies that are combined to help people not just franchise the concept, but again, grow it and be successful at it. And I think it's pretty unique. I don't know of another company that'll do that the way we do it. It's pretty cool. We do market, again, we do the trade shows. We own the company, so we do these trade shows. Right now we're doing them. We're focusing on the markets where people are getting into business. So we just did Charlotte last weekend. I think we're going to do one in the New York, New Jersey area, but only one. That's the only one up north that we've done. We did 3 in Florida. We did 3 in Texas earlier in the year. We're going back to Texas this fall because those are the hot markets. It's where people are investing. That's where people are kind of migrating to. And Georgia, we did Atlanta. So, we get probably, I don't know, in a couple of days, we get anywhere north of 1,000 people attending. And a lot of them are tire kickers, as you would imagine, but a lot of them are really interested in looking at franchises and looking for concepts and wanting to see just what's out there. So, we do all of that kind of stuff. We have a media kit. I mean, it's pretty extensive. And then we have this magazine that we publish every month. It's called Franchise Journal. It's just an online magazine. We don't do print copies, but it gets printed, and we've got a lot of featured articles in here, and we do a lot of and again, our new franchisors that sign up with the Ally program, they get a featured article, and they get some advertising in here to help them start growing and advertising their brand on a national basis. So full service, focused on really growing your business. And then once it's time to sell, there's those folks too that are available to help you, kind of like what David Shavson does, help you, find a private equity firm that maybe wants to take over your franchise and run it when you get to that point. We actually had one with, it was a pet related franchise, and they only had a couple of locations, and a private equity firm came in and bought them. So that was pretty weird because they were so small, but I guess they saw the potential in it and said, yeah, we want to get this early. So then grow the heck out of it. So that's pretty much it.
Well, that was great, Dave. And I mean, it was
good, Dave.
Right on time too. So
yeah, I try to get early.
Yeah, you did a good job.